Our next guest is just as cute, but a little bit older at 1 year old. This is Daisy, and Daisy came to us previously owned. While she was doing great with the older children in the household, the new baby was a little bit much for her, and that could be because she's a young dog who still needs to kind of work on some of her manners, but also a really important fact to understand about Daisy is that she's deaf. So she can't really hear what's going on. So sometimes new environments and new people can make her a little bit wary just because she can't hear what's going on. But otherwise, deaf dogs, we've had many deaf dogs come through the shelter and be adopted out, or we also had recently a deaf cat that was adopted out. So, they're basically the same as any other pet. There are a couple of things that maybe we'll talk about a little later that can be helpful in helping them transition. But you do want to be aware that there is going to be a little bit more caution, making sure that they're staying safe, making sure that they're supervised and things like that, because they can't hear what's going on. In terms of her interactions, Daisy's been very friendly here with our staff. She's done really well with other dogs, but in typical kind of Pitbull type dog style, she likes to pull on her leash. There's nothing new there. She does get very excited, and sometimes she likes to nibble on things and get a little mouthy, which is also not uncommon for a younger dog. But she's also really laid back. Typically, it's a 2 or 3 person job to trim dog nails around here. And Daisy got her nails trimmed with just 1 person. So I think that says a little bit about kind of her calm and relaxed nature. But again, still a young dog, still a kind of high energy dog, can be super bouncy and things like that. Again, her family said that she did really well with the kids that were in the 10 to 12 to 15 age range, but it was just the new baby that was a little bit much for her. Just being wary of strangers, which is not an uncommon thing for a dog that can't hear.
So as you mentioned, she is deaf. So what does a new family or potential adopter need to know about adopting a deaf pet?
So you always want to make sure that they can see you if you're trying to get their attention. You can train them just like you would train a hearing dog, but instead of using verbal cues, you would use hand signals so that they know. You can get their attention by doing things like getting in front of them, and so that their eye contact meets with your body, or sometimes even just stomping your feet on the ground. They can feel those vibrations. But it is really important to be aware that you don't want to come up from behind and startle them. You want to come around and face them so they can see you. And you don't want to mess with them when they're asleep. If they're really asleep and you start messing with them, they can't hear you coming to kind of wake up. So those are situations where we don't want to get into those accidental fear bites because you've startled a dog. So those are some really important things. There are a lot of great resources out there on adopting and living with and taking care of deaf dogs. I usually recommend people go to the Whole Dog Journal and just type in the search box, and lots of articles will come up on that or any other issue that you have with your canine friend. But when we do our adoption interviews, we generally go over those types of things with families so that they can be prepared and know what they're getting into. If you think that Daisy is going to be a great fit for you and maybe some of your a family with older kids in the household, then you're going to want to go to visit fcac.as.me to make that appointment to meet with her.